Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Creatives Corner. I'm your host, James Dale, and I'm with Miss Tammie Middleton. How you doing this morning?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
A beautiful Southern Belle. I don't
Mm.
get that often to be graced with Southern Belle's presence, so I thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, Miss Tammie Middleton is a writer of fiction, fantasy, adventure, dark comedy, crime drama, psychological thriller, and exotic fiction. Ooh. She specializes in education and brain stimulation that evokes complex emotional responses. She writes because it's a form of escapism that allows both authors and readers to take a forbidden journey with no judgment. Tammie enjoys noir films from the 20s through the 50s. Her favorite actors are Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, and Vivian Leigh, to name a few. Movies of the 80s, anything Spielberg, Stephen King, Robert Zemeckis, and James Cameron. Tammie enjoys dramatic arts, operas, and classical theater presentations when time permits. Tammie also enjoys collecting art and spending time with her daughter. She has a bachelor's degree in creative writing from Full Sail University. She moved from Columbia, South Carolina in 2008 from her home in Augusta, Georgia, and still resides in Columbia, South Carolina to today. So I thank you for coming,
Oh, thank
and
you.
congratulations on your graduation and Full Sail alumni. Here we
Thank
roll,
you. Thank you.
you know. What have you been doing since graduation professionally?
Well, um, I've been writing, of course. I always try to publish at least one erotic fiction book a year. I'm
Mhm.
working on my first novel.
Okay, okay. Mhm.
And I have recently started back at Full Sail to get my master's in journalism.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. And the funny thing is that you are going back for journalism, and I'm pretty much doing journalism So I may piggyback on your degree and ask for some pointers. So
Oh,
I don't
I'm ready.
have to
I'm
pay,
ready.
I don't have to pay that big student loan in
Oh, yes.
I really enjoy doing this because it is a chance for me to get to know other creatives such as myself, and it gives me an opportunity to showcase other people's talents and to bring awareness to creatives. We are people too, the individuals
Absolutely.
that you pass on the train or on the bus or standing in the line in the bank. They go home and they put on overalls and they create. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
We are people too. Hear us roar.
Yeah.
We design all of the stuff that you like. Stuff
Yeah.
like this, and
Mhm.
we make the world go round. Without us, there
Yes.
would be darkness.
Absolutely.
Figuratively
Absolutely.
speaking, not literally, because you got the sun and light
But it
and
would be
different
very
page.
blunt.
Right. So, what is your favorite genre to write?
Well, of course, erotic fiction, but
Okay.
uh, I like a good murder mystery. Absolutely
Okay.
good murder mystery. Anything that keeps me guessing,
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. A great puzzle. When
Hmm.
things come together and shape and mold, and that unexpected pleasure at the end,
Okay. Okay.
that's what keeps me going.
Okay. So I noticed that you have quite a few erotic books on smash words,
Yes.
scandalous. So I will have to ask, these stories, are they total fiction, or is it based on true events?
Oh, now you done put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, uh, the heroine of my story, of
Hmm.
course, she's made up, but some of her journey comes from personal experience.
Okay.
Now, not all of the journey, but that's where I get all of that amazing emotion that I put in my story,
Mhm.
because some of those wonderful adventures I have experienced. I feel like if you're going to write, especially when it comes to erotic fiction, you just can't sit down to the computer and just write. You have to be able to move your audience, and they have to be able to feel something. Like I said, that
Mhm.
forbidden journey between you and that reader. There are so many types of families and people in this world. Not everyone has a partner.
Mhm.
And when somebody pulls up my book and they read it, I want to get them to the finish line.
Yeah.
That is my whole purpose. And I've had readers tell me, men and women, that your books are absolutely great. You pull out all the stops. I'm human. I
Mhm.
think to be able to take that journey, you have to be able to experience the ride yourself. There are people that have read the books that have not done certain things
Right.
and now have the courage to try it. Um, there are women that have been in that situation, especially in Scandalous, that have had that male not give them the attention that they wanted or needed. Of course, they wanted to experience what was across the street, but didn't do that. But, sometimes those emotions creep in and sometimes you act on them. Um, we're human, you know. And like I said, when I write, I always try to put my whole self into my story, especially when it comes to my erotic fiction. And I was telling you I was working on my new novel.
Okay.
It's a psychological thriller. And matter of fact, it's all of my short stories, especially when we were in class together.
Mhm.
Um, I always write them and leave them wide open so that I can turn them into novels or books.
Mhm.
And you probably read it. It's called Treacherous Impressions. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember, but that's what I'm turning into my novel. And it has grown. It has grown so much in the last year. I had to put it down because I want to focus on the journalism part of my life right now. But I'm telling you, I'm not trying to give myself a pat on the back, but to see where I was in the beginning of the bachelor's program and to see how I am now as in the master's, it is truly absolutely amazing to see how my writing has grown. I can pull all those elements and put them in one place, and it just is so smooth. It looks so good on paper, and I can actually feel all the emotions that I have put into words. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be juicy.
Okay.
I'm not,
Okay.
I'm
That's
not going
good.
to put as much of the sex in there. There is some,
Mhm.
but it's not as racy,
Okay.
I should say, because I don't know if there will be, you know, 18-year-olds reading it because it
Mhm.
is a novel. But yeah, it's I can't wait. I'm about 40,000 words in right now, so I got a little bit more to go. But I'm excited about the project.
Okay, okay. So you say that attending the master's degree program has helped enhance your writing to a new level, new plateau. And do you find that learning different types of writing is beneficial in the creative process?
James, let me tell you something. I'm from the old school,
Okay.
and all these new websites and platforms terrified me.
Hmm.
I know you can use them for a positive to get you where you need to go to grow your business and your fan base and your brand. But there are always going to be those out there who will always find a way to try to be negative Nancy's. But I've learned since going to Full Sail, I did not like using all those different platforms and writing those different ways. But it has shaped and molded me. It's made me a little less negative
Hmm.
and a little more positive because we are our brands. This is not like a logo on the side of a truck or a building. We are the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't put ourselves out there, we can't sell. And so the first year when I first published my short stories book, and then I worked on my first book, um, I got sales, but not like to be able to live. I am creating a legacy for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to know that single moms, we can be very independent women, and that she can depend on herself. So I wasn't getting what I needed. And it was because of my own fears. I shut myself off. Now, I haven't gotten on Facebook yet, but I am on Twitter, of course, LinkedIn. And now I'm starting to use those platforms as a positive to push my work. And I'm finding that I'm getting a greater audience. Like I said, women that would never think about saying any of these fantasies out loud, let alone doing them. But now you're getting the single mom and the married woman and the woman who's been in a relationship for 25, 30 years who needs to spice up her life. These things make me feel better as a writer because I can look back on my education from Full Sail and see that all the things they pushed me to do are actually starting to grow my brand and make me a better person. And like I said, to look at that writing from that bachelor's program to now in the journalism master's, I am just in awe of how I've grown, how I've come full circle. And I can now teach others that when you think you can't do it, you can. You just got to have somebody that's going to help to shape and mold you and give you that needful information that you need so that you can do what you do best.
Mm-hmm.
Put those words on paper because I'm going to tell you something. There's always somebody out there who's going to read it. Who's going to read it?
So you mentioned that your journey with Full Sail has helped grow you as a writer. Do you feel your being a Southern Belle, your culture, has inspired you as a writer as much as going to Full Sail?
I get a lot of professors that tell me, young and old,
Mm-hmm.
you have a unique writing style in it, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I get my writing style from my mother. I had an older mother. My mother had me at 35. I
Mm-hmm.
had my daughter at 38. So my childhood, it wasn't always simple. I was raised by a single mom. I have an older sister.
Mm-hmm.
And, life, it was colorful. Mom, she always seemed to, she would help with problems as best she could. But, we spent a lot of time embracing books and going outside and looking at things where children today are so blocked by TikTok,
Yeah.
telephones, tablets. And we got to feel the wind on our backs and the sun on our face
Mm-hmm.
and experience picking blackberries and making pies and watching mom put sheets on a line and then blow in the wind. Words in a book can be so colorful to take you on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And my childhood, like I said, just watching my mother, I can make a story about anything. I just reach back into the past and I can bring it forth. I don't allow myself to be censored in my writing. I It might sound old to you, but you can see the picture that I'm painting.
Mm-hmm.
The Southern Belle in me has shaped my life so much. I can relate to other people, but without my Southern background, I don't think I'd be the great writer that I am. You have to have charisma. You have to be colorful. And I'm not saying that you got to be the most worldly person who's been all kinds of continents, because You can be the best writer, never leave the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to look out the window. When I was a child, I was a very close, quiet little girl. Even now, I'm a people watcher. That's what I do. And the people that I see on the street, or when I get in the car to go to the grocery store, go to my child's school, those are the people that sometimes are pulled and put in my stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, that's my Southern background. I just watched a lot. I experienced a lot of what people ignore. Like I said, the simpleness of the clouds rolling by in the sky or the rain falling, the simplicities of life. When I first started writing at Full Sail, I was discouraged by one of our professors in the third month. And he had told me, he said that I couldn't write. And the first thought came to me was that I should just drop out and let this go. Because a lot of people say, you don't need a degree to write.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always that pink elephant in the room. And I want to be taken serious, very serious as a writer. So I wanted that degree. So I had to have a conversation with myself. And I said, well, just because he doesn't believe that I'm a good writer doesn't mean that I'm not a good writer. There wouldn't be Martin Luther King's or Maya Angelou's or Emily Dickinson's or Jane Austen's in this world if we all wrote the same.
Mm-hmm.
I know my writing's a little bit different because I'm Southern. And those things is my strong background is what makes me such a great writer. I mean, this degree makes me be taken seriously, but my writing style is who I am, the Southern Belle in me.
And I can attest to that because I have my background is not eclectic, but I grew up in New York. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my parents are Jamaican, and I just like you, I watched my parents who were very traditional and how they did things, and I noticed how my parents reared us versus the people in my neighborhood, and I had different individuals in my neighborhood. There was a old Jewish couple. There was a whole Hispanic couple that didn't speak any English at all. I think that they did that so people wouldn't come around or ask them too many questions so they can move around in anonymity, but living in the place that I lived in, growing up in the home that I grew up in, it definitely shaped my creativity and my imagination, and it helped me as a writer because I use writing as therapy, creating characters, and I draw a lot of my characters from my own life experiences or experiences that I heard, stories that I heard from my older brothers. My older brothers used to tell me what they call Anansi stories, which is like stories
Mm-hmm.
of a heroine or a hero trying to come in and dupe protagonists in the
Mm-hmm.
world, and they will add their own little spin to it. You know what I mean? And by doing so, I developed my own knack and style of reciting different stories that I heard from somebody else, because I could hear a story that one of my siblings tell me and somebody else could tell me the same story, and it wasn't the same. I didn't
Right.
receive it the same. It was a different panache to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I understood that being different is okay at a young age. So if I would have had, I'm sorry you had to go through that experience at Full Sail, but one thing I'm going to say is God don't put you in no situation that you can't handle, and maybe
Absolutely.
that comment was the catalyst that pushed you that much more to make you who you are today. If you didn't hear that negative response from your critique of your writing, maybe you would have said, okay, I do not have to change this, that, and the third with my writing. Now, since then, you have a little chip on your shoulders that you have to prove to yourself. You have to make sure all of your sentences are the way they're supposed to be, your punctuation marks and everything like that. So there's no doubt that you are a writer. There wasn't any doubt before, but now you make sure that it is for a full circle.
Fire me.
You know what I
It did.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it put a fire underneath. So you have to thank individuals like that, because a lot of writers out there rallying. You know, the writer for Harry Potter, she got rejected 7 times. You know, she's an independent writer. You know, her husband left her with a child, and she wrote the most prolific story in recent history, 21st century. You know what I mean? So if we all heard yes, then we wouldn't make a change. We wouldn't evolve. We will stay the same. And
Absolutely.
a lot of the times we need a little rejection to get a little fire underneath us to take ourselves a little bit more serious, put a little bit more in what we have going on. And that is a message to the people out there that's watching this show, to don't be complacent. You know, don't ever believe that your ish don't stink, because it stinks just like
Right.
anybody else, and you have to make different changes. I'm not saying to spray potpourri on it. You have to flush, flush it down and
You
start
have to,
over,
that's right. You have to.
and stand up and adjust yourself just like you did. So I applaud you. A lot of other people would have folded. You know what I mean?
No,
And they would have said, you know what? I'm going to take this person's critique and I'm going to wallow in my own crapulence, and
no.
I'm going to just fold up like a wilt, like a flower, and I'm not going to try again. No, you have to try again. You know, you have to
That's
keep
right. Push,
on
push,
at it.
push,
You
push,
have to
push.
keep at it. You have to keep doing what you need to do, because there's a lot of people out there that are living their mundane life. And the reason they're living their mundane life because it's safe. You know what I mean? And nobody has
Absolutely. You
them
can't play
know
safe
in the world,
sometimes.
and they don't want to venture out and try to make themselves happy. Because once you are happy, you can make other people happy. And I've
Absolutely.
noticed during our interview and how passionate you are about your writing, and I can see it in your eyes, and I can pull it from how eloquent you describe your story, and how you approach your writing style, and that is a part of your growth as an individual and how you were raised. I wouldn't take it any other way, and I can 100% see your stories being adapted into a screenplay. You know, that was one of my questions I wanted to ask. Would you ever adapt any of your stories into
If
a screenplay, like
somebody
a Zane or
came
something?
to me and said they would want to take one of
Mm-hmm.
my books and turn it into a, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a great experience. I have a good friend of mine who has 10 books on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a story our second year about learning how to drive my sister's red Camaro
Mm-hmm.
when I was 16. And I get this email one day, and I'm like, oh, who is this? And it's a young man who asked me, he said, you wrote a story in class, and I am doing photography for Full Sail, and I want to turn it into a film. And I said, oh, what story? And he was like, it's about you driving your sister's car. And I said, are you kidding me? And he was like, no, I want to make it for the Cannes Film Festival. And I said, okay. So we set up a Q&A. And like a couple of weeks later, he called me, we talked, And he said, I just really, really, really want to get it right. And he said, so I, I just want to ask a couple of questions of does it have to be two girls, ethnic girls? I said, well, if you really want to get it right, yes, it has to be two ethnic girls.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have to have the car.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the whole purpose. That was my sister's baby. She bought that when she was 16 years old. We're 3 years apart. And 5-speed rally sport, candy apple red, baby. She would be out there wiping it down, T-tops. It was fabulous. And she didn't want any dings, anybody even look at it too hard. So for her to come to me and say, it's time for you to learn how to drive,
It was a big
I,
deal.
I was shaking in my boots, you hear me? But once I got in that car, it was like heaven. And that day will stick with me for the rest of my life. Two sisters, we're just so far apart, mentally and emotionally. But for her to come to me and say, I'm going to trust you with my baby. I know you can do this. I know you can get this right. And I did. I wanted to make my mom proud, but I wanted to make her proud too. And to get in that car for that short ride, it was amazing. Even right now, talking about it, I'm that 16-year-old girl again. But yeah, he turned it into a screenplay for me. Oh, well, not for me, for other people, but so yes, if somebody came to me and said, I read this book, or I read your short stories book, and there's a story in there I want to turn into a screenplay, would you allow us to? Absolutely. I would go to the moon. You hear what I say? That's the biggest honor I believe any writer like myself, who's not on the New York bestseller list, like you said, we want to be recognized for our work. Basically, E.D. Fenton, you can look him up.
Mm-hmm.
He has 10 books on the shelf. Matter of fact, we just spoke last week. We try to speak like at least once a month. He's busy, and I get it. But he says that I'm his muse, and he's a muse to me because he has these books on the shelf. And I used to ask him all the time, what are you doing at Full Sail? And he was like, well, I wanted to sharpen my skills. So if you want to try to find this video, I know you do,
Mm-hmm.
um, go on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
look up E.D. Fenton. You can actually look him up on the web and you can find him in all of his books. Matter of fact, he just released a book in Africa.
Okay.
Great. So, well, just down to earth guy, great, great. If you reach out to him, he'll talk to you. But like I said, he wanted to get this film right. He wanted to get it right. He wanted to make sure that he brought all those emotions into it that I
Mm-hmm.
had on the page. And that made me feel good because he didn't have to reach out to me once I'd say yes, he already had the story, but he he wanted to bring that down home to
Mm-hmm.
that film. And like I said, that reaching out to me just to transform those words into something someone can see on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That just meant so much to me. So yeah, someone came to me and said that they wanted to turn one of my short story work or one of my books into a film. I jump on it so quick because I mean it'll reach a broader, audience. And
Audience.
who doesn't want to reach a broader audience? Get my name out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you said Edie Fenton.
E.D. Fenton.
Okay. And what is the name of the story, first of all? And
Ah, I'm
short
not certain
film.
how if he changed
Okay.
the story title. I don't know if he did, but
Mhm.
it was oh God, now you put me on the spot. Uh, learning how to drive at 16.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did Edie Fenton did he
And
submit it? Did he submit it in the
yeah,
Cannes Festival?
Yeah, that's what I said. If you reach out to him, he should be able to tell you everything that you need.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's great. And I want to follow that up with who or what inspired you to write in the first place?
Oh, my dear. We have so many. But I'm going to tell you, when I was in the fourth grade
Mhm.
during Black History Month,
Mhm.
we were sitting in class and the teacher rolls the TV in
Yeah, I
and talk
remember.
about how old ago that
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
She turns on PBS television and we got to watch that I Have a Dream speech.
Hmm.
That's what really did it for me. Martin was, he was a great man in our house. We had a picture of him, a very large picture of him, Jesus Christ, and Kennedy.
Hmm.
If that will let you know just how was held in regard. Um, but to see him on the screen and to actually be able to recognize with my people and to feel that passion of each and every word that this man had sat down with himself and wrote out for the whole world to hear. That's what did it for me. I had always been a writer of stories, especially when I was little. And like you, writing helped me to go through childhood through adolescence. Like I said, I
Hmm.
was a quiet girl. I would rather sit home and read R.L. Stein books than to go outside and play
I
with
remember R.L.
everybody.
Stein, Goosebumps. I remember that.
Yes, honey, I'm a big R.L. Stein fanatic. I love him. And I'm trying to get my daughter into R.L. Stein right now.
Mm.
So uh, I was a big fan of Beverly Cleary
Mm.
and Beezus and Ramona, and poetry. I loved Emily Dickinson
Mm.
and Whitman and Byron, Shakespeare. Didn't really understand it as much as I now can, translate. But back then, those things intrigued me, and to be able to see the different way things can be shaped. Maya Angelou was another one that fueled that fire. She had come from a background of rape, you know,
Hmm.
to have to bore a child by her rapist,
Hmm.
things. So when I can watch all these different types of writing, just it made me feel like my writing wasn't just a journal entry in a book that no one will ever read. These are the milestones in my life that have gotten me over a lot of emotional stigma, you know,
Hmm.
to be able to speak with you today. I hated public speaking. Hated.
Well,
Didn't
I
like
gotta
it at
tell
all.
you that the way you are writing your stories, you're gonna have to get used to public speaking because people
Oh,
are going to hear a lot about you, Miss Middleton. So get used to it. I'm glad
oh
to
well,
be one of the first to interview you to get you out there to get you comfortable with public
oh,
speaking,
thank
but
you.
get used to it because I feel the energy and I feel that you are going to be you are scratch that. You are a great writer. It's just that you are not in the world at the state that you need to be in, but I can definitely see that you are doing it because you have your stuff out there, and that is the first thing that get you up and running. You wrote your short stories. Somebody approached you about adapting your work into a short film. That should just show you in and of itself that you are a writer. And whatever professor told you that you weren't a writer, look them in the eye
It's
and say,
foolishness.
see me now. But you got to thank them. You have to thank them because, what if everybody would have told you you are great, and whatever mistakes you was making before,
No,
you
no,
would have
no.
continued making mistakes.
All great people
Mhm.
have to have a little bit of criticism, honey. We
Mhm.
have to have that drive to, like I said, shape and mold us. And like I said, I could have gave up,
Mhm. I'm glad you didn't.
but no. I just went back on those words. I had to shape and mold them, like you said, dot those I's and cross those T's. Go back and reword and bring that work forth.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, after graduation, we talk on LinkedIn. So I appreciate it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you can either grow from that negative stigma, or you can allow it to push you into the best you can be. And I've got somebody watching me. That little 8-year-old girl, that's what keeps mommy going.
Mm-hmm.
That's what keeps those pages flying across the shelf, honey, because I don't want her to ever feel like if somebody lets you down, or if somebody talks bad to you and tells you you're not a good person, those are just words.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just words. And allow those words to fuel your fire to make you the best you can be.
Yeah, it's well said. So, you have the floor. Please let my audience know where they can get your books, the titles, and what they can expect from you in the future.
Ah! So we have a short story book out there, The Villa and Other Stories. I have Inside My Euphoria, which was my second book. And we have Intriguing Indiscretions. And then my latest is Scandalous. You can find all of my books on smashwords.com, Apple Books, and Barnes and Noble. And my new project that I'm working on, my first novel, yay! That is going to be Treacherous Impressions. And I'm hoping to get that thing out the middle part of 2024, because like I said, I'm working on my journalism masters, and I want to get that right. So you should see that novel coming out the middle part of 2024. And you can also get in the same title at smashwords.com, Apple Books, and Barnes and Noble.
Are all your books ebooks, or they can get paperback?
As of right now, but Mr. Fenton is working on me. He wants to see me in hard copy. So
Mhm.
I am in the midst of getting prices and publishing house so I can be even more fabulous.
If that is even possible. Miss Middleton, I Creative's Corner. It airs on Optimal Gold Radio, and the owner of Optimal Gold Radio has a bookstore called The Writery Inc. So when you have your books in hard copy, keep us in mind and give us a few copies so we can display your works, and we can have a virtual book signing with you there, and we can get your name out there. And this is really the reason why I started Creative's Corner, because I am a writer and I publish quite a few novels myself, and I didn't know how to get my work out there. I didn't know who to turn to. So I just put on my New York hat and I just went
Mm-hmm.
and I cold called people and I just bum rushed everybody and I just say, this is me. I don't know, you don't know me yet, but I know who I am, and hear me roar. This is my stuff. Can you display my stuff? And this is why I have the platform that I have so far, because I kicked in a lot of doors and people was very receptive of my work. And I want to give people such as yourself an opportunity to display your work out there, not just to get sales, but to inspire other people that you too
Absolutely.
can do it as well, because it's very important that people live happy, because
Yes.
tomorrow is not promised. And just like you said, you want to leave a legacy. You have an 8-year-old daughter and you want to show her that the world is her oyster, and
Absolutely.
sky is not the limit. The limit is the sky, and she holds the key to her success. And that is the message that we want to send out there to everybody. And Miss Middleton, I thank you for coming. And I'm going to check out, and I hope everybody out there checks out that short film. And can you, that short story that was adapted into the short film, is it available for people to go somewhere and read the story
I
to
have not
compare
put
it?
it online yet, but I do plan on making another short story book.
Mhm.
So maybe I can pop it in there for you.
Okay, all right. We look forward to it. And again, thank you, Miss Middleton. This is Tammie Middleton, writer of exotic stories and soon to be bestseller author and director and all kind of other good stuff that is in her future. And my name is James Dale, and this is Creatives Corner. And I see you on the next one.